Coming up,
a time warp to the Angler for a fun-filled screening.
And our review of a new movie, Born in the USA.
So sit back,
relax,
and here's the word on the street. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Word on the Street. I'm Grace Lathrop.
And I'm Fideli, and we are so excited to share with you that this year marks the 50th anniversary of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, one of the most iconic Halloween films of all time. And Grace, I know you have a rundown for us, so let's hear it.
I sure do, and yes, thank you, Hannah. That is right. It is the 50th anniversary, which is a huge deal, if you ask me. 50 years is a long time. And this film is described as a cult classic, but when it was released in 1975, it really wasn't received all that well.
No.
It was actually considered a total flop and was just a little too weird for its time. Some theaters even pulled it because audiences were so appalled by its themes, and critics called it over the top and just confusing. However, the film took a total turn in 1976 when theaters started showing it at midnight, and this quickly became a trend, and even today theaters are showing the movie at midnight and fans are coming dressed up as the characters, creating a whole cult phenomenon. Now, it is one of the most successful films of all time, and it's so quite the crazy turnaround for the movie itself. And Rocky Horror talks a lot about sexual themes, like the main character, Dr. Frankenfurter, being a transgender man who is celebrated for his fluidity and flamboyance in the movie. There's also a couple musical numbers, which in my opinion are a little bit campy, but are now so catchy and everybody knows them. Complete showstoppers that most people just know by heart. And also this movie provoked much audience participation where fans can be engaged with props and dressing up during viewings. And speaking of, DITV's Morgan Burhans got to see one of these screenings and is here to tell us more about it. So Morgan, take it away.
Thanks, Hannah and Grace. And as you guys said, the Rocky Horror Picture Show is a flop-turned phenomenon. Just this last Saturday, they celebrated their 50th year right here at the Angler Theater. And lucky me, I was able to secure a spot at the sold-out show. And let me tell you, Iowa City showed up with tons of energy. It was an awesome experience seeing lifelong fans of the show merge with the new fans. Throughout the show, the audience used props like newspapers, water guns, party horns, and balloons. All of the props matched with a certain part of the film. I unfortunately did not get a prop bag, but it would have been super fun to follow along. The show thrives off of audience participation. Longtime fans yell call-outs throughout the show to make it funnier. These lines are normally witty, sarcastic, and respond to the show's original scripted lines. And for the new fans, there are even scripts you can search on Google to know what to call out during the show. Looking back, I definitely needed some studying on those scripts because boy was the audience prepared. They knew exactly what to say at the perfect time. And most of all, it was super cool to see the audience come to life and enjoy such a fun night. One of my favorite parts of the show is the community it has created. As Grace mentioned before, the theme celebrates sexual liberation and individuality. At the time it was released, it received lots of negative pushback for its controversial opinions. The decision to air the show at midnight brought a whole new audience to celebrate these themes. Many people say this show has created a home for them to share their gender fluidity and self-expression. I could definitely see the sense of community represented at the Iowa City show. Everyone celebrated the long history of the show in fun costumes and was overall happy to be there. And speaking of costumes, Annika, how did the Victoria's Secret fashion show go?
It was incredible. And you know, Morgan, I'm so jealous you got to go. I love going to classic shows. And speaking about them, I wanted to talk a little bit about the recent 2025 Victoria's Secret fashion show. It was a little over 2 weeks ago in Brooklyn, New York, and there's been a lot of controversy over the brand in previous years. But I think the way they've grown as a company is really interesting. Many refer to the show as the Super Bowl of fashion, and I have to agree, I love over-the-top things. I think how the brand is refocusing itself to be more inclusive is reshaping how people see beauty. And there were models of all different body types this year, but not only this, models who made it themselves, like Quinn Blackwell, and models who are WNBA stars, like Angel Reese. Angel Reese said in a quote, "It's also for the young girls that look up to me and to know that they should continue to dream big. which is a message that I don't think a lot of people get out of these shows, but I think it just shows how powerful representation can be, because when you see someone who looks like you or has the same interests as you feel as though you could also achieve those things. And one other thing that I absolutely love is they started off with a pregnant woman, which I just think is so cool. And I think this representation shows that it's more than just underwear, which is what they were previously criticized about in previous years, when they had less diversity. Annika, a model this year, stated it's about delving into every single one of us as women and figuring out what makes us different, and that's what our sexy is. I feel like, at least for me, that's a very empowering statement. Another quote from Victoria's Secret CEO Hillary Super states, "We invite you into our world and we want you to feel the best version of yourself." And now, Grace and Hannah, back to you guys.
Grace, over the weekend, I got to see a new play at the theater department. It's part of their gallery series, which these are usually written by graduate playwrights and also usually directed by grad students as well. And these series are a chance for the grad playwrights to get to see their work on stage for the first time usually.
That is really cool, Hannah. I'm so glad you got to see. Tell us a little bit more.
I will. So the play is called Jellyfish Baby, and it's a devised and more abstract piece. And devised can mean a lot of things. In this, it meant just kind of, there were like most of the characters were on stage the full time. It didn't have necessarily like, it was told in chronological order, but not in like the way of like seeing a scene end and the next scene begin. It was more just fluid. And it's a piece about a transgender male who's in the process of detransitioning back to a female with conversion therapy from the church. And there's only 4 characters. So the main one, Jonathan, his ex-girlfriend, who is also a trans woman named Danielle, his religious counselor, Jake, who is a detransitioned trans man, and a jellyfish named Cecilia. Now, I was very confused.
I'm a little confused just by what you said.
Yes. It was a lot to try and like keep up with the whole time. So initially I was very confused watching the show. I understood the themes of religious trauma and the right versus left ideology, but I didn't understand what the jellyfish were supposed to represent. Both the character and then how they were also talking about what a jellyfish is and what it meant and how they're like, if you do this, you'll be a jellyfish. I was just kind of very lost. But after further research and talking to some peers, I think the jellyfish Cecilia is supposed to represent Jake, who is the counselor, Jake's former soul as a trans woman. So it's like a lost soul. But I was confused. I'm like, so is it a ghost? Is it a dead person? It kind of is. It's a dead soul maybe. But it's like, how is the soul able to talk to Jonathan then, but not anyone else? So
yeah,
that was a little bit confusing for me. And that the concept of the jellyfish, or yeah, like maybe like lost souls, I don't know. I'm not really sure. So this is definitely one that makes you think.
Yeah.
You have to really be there. You have to really want to go to the theater to like be coming away with something to think about.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. So, and I'm totally all there for that. I just was really missing the main aspect of what the jellyfish was supposed to represent, of how we're supposed to take that, I guess. And there were parts on stage where like Jonathan was having things pulled from his mind and it almost looked like tentacles. So I'm like thinking like, is that supposed to be like his ideology, like stripping away like his male identity and going back to the female identity?
Maybe.
Is this stripping away like his brain and is he being brainwashed? Like I didn't know exactly. So those two things I was just very confused about. And I knew, like, I was moved about, like, this concept of detransitioning with the church and everything, but I just didn't get it as a whole watching it. You know what I mean?
I feel like just based off of what you said, I kind of agree. I'm not sure I'm really following along.
Yeah.
I think I would have been really lost too.
Yeah.
I feel like it's one of those things where it was like a good try, but maybe needs a little help.
Yeah, I think I just either was just lost, or if there was a little bit more of a workshopping that to do for me to understand it personally more, because I think you have to be really, really into like abstract theater to understand it. So if you're not an avid theater goer, or if you don't want to think too much while watching theater, this is not the show for you. This is a play where you need to be thinking the whole time and leaving a bit puzzled and okay with that. Overall, it was a really good play. The themes are important to today and really prevalent, but it's just not my cup of tea.
And that's okay. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
But Speaking of something that was totally my cup of tea, Hannah and I saw the Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere movie the other day, and personally, I absolutely loved it. But before we go into more of a rundown about our thoughts, let's talk a little bit about the stats for this film so far. This movie has been doing pretty well in theaters so far. It's just hard to tell because there's a lot that's been coming out, so competition has been tough. It's only been out for a few days now, and Disney Plus actually released a little sneak peek and behind-the-scenes conversation with Bruce Springsteen himself and Jeremy Allen White, who plays him in the film, to get people excited about it. And now, like we mentioned last time, the movie really just talks about Springsteen's life when recording the famous Nebraska album, and when he was just on the cusp of fame, right about to peak. And so far, the movie has made about $16 million domestically and has an average score of 60% on Rotten Tomatoes. But personally, I think it should be way higher.
Way higher.
But it did receive an average of 4.1 stars out of 5 from audience members.
I'm really surprised to see the 60% Rotten Tomatoes as well, because the movie was actually really, really good.
One of the better ones I've seen in a long time.
Low expectations, but I was really impressed, specifically by the cinematography. These shots right here, you could really tell the costuming, what took us back in time. The shots took us back in time. You could tell we were in the 70s, 80s, like it really put us there. And just some of like the really cinematic shots of him driving through the open road, the rain, the one shot of him in the booth where he just throws his head back. Like these are shots that are like far away and give you a bigger picture of it, and it really makes you see the full picture on what, like I could see what they were trying to do with that. It makes you like almost uncomfortable. It puts them more in this box of like, we're encroaching on your territory and we're viewing you. So I really enjoyed that. Yeah. And some of the close-up shots also did the same, where you feel like you're encroaching on their territory and you're there with them. Like the one specific scene of when Springsteen is like in his initial therapy session. I mean, this was just amazing work by Jeremy Allen White.
It was really
This is work that we do in my acting class, and I could see him put it into work on the screen. The therapist sits there and asks, "Why are you here today?" He sits there, takes a breath, and you could see like the roller coaster of emotions going through him, from like, well, funny story, to like going through like, holy cow, my life is a mess, to literally starting to sob like, I need help. You could see like him processing it as a character, as an actor. You could see the choices he makes, the tension that was carried in his neck, in his forehead, and how it was just so amazing. That's probably one of the best parts of the movie, of him just going through this roller coaster of emotions, and seeing an actor put this on, not just as a character, but as like seeing him put on this person. It was so well done.
He was really, really good. And yeah, speaking of the acting, I just thought, I didn't know too much about Bruce Springsteen other than he sings Born in the USA. Yeah. That was pretty much all I knew. But I think this is also really interesting because he's still alive. Yeah. So it like has to be good, because otherwise it'd just be really embarrassing, if you watch. I mean, I'm sure he had his hand in it the entire time, but I really learned a lot, and it seems like he was a really stand-up guy too. And Jeremy Allen White was just so good. I think this was like the perfect person to play. I mean, Bruce Springsteen is so cool, and obviously that came across in the movie with his leather jacket, and he's just this like super like down-to-earth cool guy when he's like sitting in the diner. It was just, and Jeremy Allen White is like, to me, he's so cool. Like in The Bear and in Shameless and all those things that he's in, he's just so good at those kind of roles. And I just think he was really like, it worked really, really well. And another thing is he really sounded like him too.
Oh my gosh, the voice work was insane.
It was kind of freaky a little bit. I mean, especially because I was watching a documentary a while ago about the Feed the World video that they put out for the Live Nation concert in the 80s to help raise money for AIDS. And they got all these big celebrities to record the song, and he was one of them. And he has this super raspy voice, and it comes across really prominently in that, and that's what I thought about in this. And even when Jeremy Allen White talked, it was like the same kind of voice, and
the mannerisms, like how we like his mouth shape even, yeah.
He was so good, and you can tell this movie was a little bit lower budget, but I think it worked really well for him, and he was just, I really loved the old technology too.
Yes,
that they used,
definitely. It was really fun to see.
Yeah.
And like the cast was like, it wasn't a huge cast, honestly.
Very, very
There
small.
were very few characters, but the big ones, obviously Jeremy Allen White. I'm pretty sure this is his debut to film. I think he's only done TV before. I could be wrong.
He has done a couple movies in the past.
But this is, I think this is his biggest one and his biggest role in a film.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty big deal for him. Like, he's obviously up and coming. He's like the industry's like new like favorite actor I'm seeing kind of thing. Like, he's really getting a lot of praise right now, and he deserves it. He's really putting in the work. I mean, I would be worried as an actor like about that voice, like emulating that because of the raspiness. Like, I would be worried about damage. But it seems like he did it in a healthy way and like was able to I mean, he lived and breathed the character. We talked about like Elvis with Austin Butler, how he did that. We're talking about Ariana Grande, how she lived and breathed Galinda. Like, this is an actor who really took this seriously.
Yeah.
Another character that was so amazing was the dad.
Yes.
Who was the dad from Adolescence, who won the Emmy for that role as well.
Yes.
So he's another like big actor. He's been in a lot. He was the dad in Matilda, the musical.
Yes.
And I mean, the way he takes this role, I mean, it's a very, very hard role to play, this abusive father and the relationship that they're kind of navigating of like, I love you and you mean so much to me. And especially in the end, like the last scene we see, but like playing that abusive alcoholic role, I mean, like he really had to go to a place to be able to do that. And then we see like at the end where he's having some mental health issues and some memory things going on. So I mean, he was just absolutely phenomenal. And he doesn't talk that much.
No.
A lot of it is in the movement, it's in the body, it's in the body language, like it's in how he carries himself. And he really brought that across. And you see the change from him in the flashback scenes to him, like just like the way he sat and the way he looked at his son. Like, it was incredible. Those two, oh my gosh.
And all the flashback scenes were also in black and white, which was, except at the end when he saw his like father at the carnival
when he had the panic attack.
Yeah, and he kind of like acknowledged that he was finally like a part of his life and he can't just push it out. But it was, the bottom line is, a really good movie. I don't want to spoil it. You have to go see it.
Amazing.
But for now, let's do a quick rundown of Hannah and I's ratings.
So here's my review of the movie. I'm going to start out with the plot. I gave it an 8 out of 10 only because it felt a little slow at times. There were points where there was no talking, no dialogue. We were just kind of seeing Bruce Springsteen struggling, which was an artistic choice and important to the film, but I just felt like there were a few too many of those, and it could have just been a little bit more speedy. And I think it was just also hard because there was a few, the time jumps were a little bit throwing me off, not the flashbacks, but in the present day, what was going on. Sometimes I was like, oh, is this a week later? Is this a month later? But other than that, it was very well done. Acting, I'm going to give it 10 out of 10. I mean, I have no notes. The casting was just impeccable. And what I really liked is each character, you could see the struggle. You didn't see the actor struggling, and you didn't see the actor making choices. You saw how the character was responding and how they were struggling. So I really liked that, and I really liked how the emotions really fueled this movie. And the movie is all about emotions and mental health, so I'm going to go to 9 out of 10 with the messaging, because I personally didn't know that Bruce Springsteen struggled with some mental health issues specifically during this album. And we really saw the progression from the beginning to the end of the movie of how much help he needed and his struggling. Like, at the beginning, I didn't know he was having a hard time. It was mentioned from like his close friends, like, oh, he doesn't seem like he's well, he's having a tough time going back home. You would see in the flashbacks that he was actually flashing back and having a little bit of PTSD moments. So this messaging, I think, was great, and at the end it wrapped it up basically saying like he got help, and that like mental health is a thing that you should not be afraid to reach out for help for, and everyone goes through times where they need a helping hand and they need a friend or a professional to help them through that. So I really did enjoy that. And then overall, a 9 out of 10. I mean, this movie was pretty much impeccable. It was done so well, and I just think that it's going to have a lot of chances at some awards this season. I think that they're going to walk away with 1 or 2. I think it was really well done. Now, Grace, I'll toss it over to you to see your opinions.
Thanks, Hannah, and I pretty much had very similar ratings to you, but I will give the plot a 9 out of 10. I agree. I do think it dragged a little bit at certain parts, and I do wish that there was a little bit more of musical numbers in there because I think he has some really great hits, but with that, the idea that it zoomed in on one specific album and what it took to make that, I think made it really different instead of trying to span through his entire life, because that just is so extensive and can get very, very long. For the acting, I have to give it a 10 out of 10. I thought this was cast perfectly. I thought Jeremy Allen White was the perfect person to play someone like, just to play Bruce Springsteen. He just played him so, so well and really totally embraced the character fully in every single aspect. And for messaging, I gave it a 10 out of 10. I agree with Hannah. I think putting the mental health message at the forefront of the movie is really important. I didn't know that Bruce Springsteen struggled with any of that either, and that was kind of a very prominent part of the whole movie. And at the end, we see him asking for help and just breaking down, and it's done so well, not shoving it down your throat, but more so letting you kind of pick up on that and see it for yourself, which I really appreciated. And it just kind of goes to show that anyone, no matter who you are or how successful you are, might need help at some point in time, and a lot of us do. So I really appreciated that, and I loved how they did it tastefully without being too over the top, but without shadowing over that as well with his music. And finally, overall, I'd give it a 9 out of 10. I almost gave it a 10 out of 10, but I will say, I was telling Hannah earlier, I do wonder how this movie would be if Jeremy Allen White wasn't in it. I don't know if that was kind of a pull factor or what the deal was with that as well. So just kind of taking him out of the equation. I do think the plot needed a little bit of work. Maybe it was a little bit slow at some parts, but he was so good and convincing in this role that I think that kind of bumped my star up a little bit. So I would definitely give it a 9 out of 10, and I highly recommend that everybody runs to the theaters and sees this movie, because I know that I not only learned a lot, but also just got to experience this music in a theater and see and learn more about the life of Bruce Springsteen. And thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Word on the Street.
We are here every week to give you your full entertainment rundown.
But for now, I'm Grace Lathrop.
And I'm Hannah Fideli, and we will see you next time on Word on the Street.